example like vaccines.
Mhm.
Initially, when vaccines came into the picture, most of the people thought that okay, these are not going to cure us, but are going to harm us in some way. Maybe we might turn into zombie or something.
Whenever we just talk about some things, and you might remember back in few days we were just sitting in a restaurant talking over a few things, and suddenly we opened our phone and we were just seeing some advertisement actually targeting the same thing that we were talking about.
Exactly, yeah. So basically, there is a norm that AI knows everything about me, your phone is listening to you. Except that people are fearing the fact that AI is going to take over. So,
It model will train itself on that data, so it's kind of the same thing happening out there. And then
exactly.
if we look at the goal of the student, the goal of student is to pass the exam by grasping that data. So it depends on the quality of learning material that he has been given, the way of the teacher has taught that particular.
It is just intelligence made by man. So that's how it is, if we simply try to put it. Naked truth, it is just math and there is no magic involved. Right? It like dating someone who is emotionally unavailable and you are just repeating yourself and they just don't get you. Right? So, of what you have watched, it cannot recommend you the proper videos for you to watch. Right? It will show you the path, and I must say, although it has got most advanced, I would still not rely on it because it will still not tell me a basic simple thing whether I have to take the bridge or not. Right? It is not a robot that has feelings. It has just some statistics with good marketing.
Recognition that we use on our phones, the ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever Claude tools are available for us, are all built on large language models.
What about humanity? Select all, control all, delete. That is the only logical solution that Ultron came up with. Right? I would say Ultron just visited Instagram's comment section once and saw how dark the people's thoughts are. How people are being provoked and the
Few companies just barred that data to be used, and then OpenAI launched something called, you know paid. They are just buying data out to train itself, so they are paying companies, I'll use your data. Hey everyone, welcome to our first ever podcast. This is our first episode from many coming ahead of the Curiosity Room. And today we are going to discuss the trending topic, that is artificial intelligence or AI. We'll be discussing those aspects of AI that is easier to understand for everyone with no technical background. Our try is to get a step back from the highly technical jargons and make people understand the AI at its core in a simple, relatable manner. Like what is AI, how it is different from automation, what's the coming future, what are some common misconceptions. There will be multiple episodes on this particular topic where we will be deep diving into every aspect of it as we move ahead. But think of this episode as a starter pack that we are trying to showcase you. uh, we will be doing a short journey from human intelligence to machine intelligence. And for that, today I'm very excited to have our guest to host him today, Mr. Rohit Amalnekar. He's my ex-colleague. He's my friend. He's a data engineer, an AI practitioner, an AI strategist. He's been into teaching and training like since 6 to 7 years. He's been helping many data professionals with their data and AI career. And I'm happy to say he's also helping few underprivileged children with their education. Of course, his interests are into poetry and literature as well, in as well as in history as well. So maybe these are the topics to talk on some other day. But today, let's start with very basic. Let's understand what AI is and why everybody is talking about it. So let's deep dive into it. Hey, how are you doing then?
yeah, hi Akash. So I'm I must say I'm doing a solid 7 out of 10. 7 for doing great on the outside and -3 on doing well on the inside. Not so well on the inside. I mean, still buffering. How about you?
Buffering about buffering about that this is a weekend or weekday.
Oh, that's great. Actually, when you called me for this podcast to discuss about AI, I did some retrospection and I thought like life has been more of an like an AI model lately. like a little, overworked and still outputting decent results, I must say. But you know what? I could seriously use a reboot. So I hope when you ask me these questions or prompts, I must say that you're going to throw at me. So I'll be outputting some decent responses to you.
Absolutely. And thanks for joining us today and welcome, I would say welcome to the Curiosity Room. This is a long awaited video that we were planning since months and finally we are
Definitely.
here doing this. So I'm very grateful that you joined us today to, give us some knowledge about AI and other stuff. And I guess that's it. Like I'll just straight away get into the topic and let's
Yeah.
just start very simple. And let's just say if there is somebody new who is trying to learn about what AI is, how would you explain somebody who is fairly new to this topic?
Yeah. And I guess the way that you have already set up the premise that we are trying to take away all the fancy jargons and trying to explain it to a normal audience that are not aware about what exactly this is. So, as the word says, like artificial intelligence, AI. So, if we only focus on the word called as intelligence, what is that? Something that we were born with and something that evolved over time from our experiences. We learn from our some of the good experiences as well as the bad experiences. Some people, I would say, are quite naturally intelligent. Some develop some of their own, and some of are still figuring out whether they are intelligent or not. So
Okay.
something, again, when we talk about intelligence, of course, human intelligence is the first thing that comes to our mind. But artificial, when we said artificial, it is plain simple English. Artificial is something that is man made. So man-made intelligence is nothing but an artificial intelligence. That's how I would describe this word. And if you try to break the complexity of it, that's how simple the definition is. So at its simplest form, I would say artificial intelligence is when machines start doing the things that normally require human intelligence, like
Mm-hmm.
simple things like learning, reasoning, recognizing patterns, or making decisions, right? So, if human intelligence is all about understanding, thinking, and reacting, is that's how we would take it. Then AI would be about teaching the computers the same things so that it can mimic our behavior to do those tasks for us.
Okay.
Like if you look at it in a very different perspective, like AI has become quite confusing lately. Like it's human tendency to hate, or I would say it is quite a strong word. People resent things that they do not understand. Like this has been the norm, right? So if you talk about any invention, let's say, let's start with the very basic example like vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, when vaccines came into the picture, most of the people thought that okay, these are not going to cure us but are going to harm us in some way. Maybe we might turn into zombie or something. This was quite the perception. Cars, when it came into the when cars were invented, basically, you will not believe this. People used to think that if you go faster than a horse, it will cause problems to your lungs. A very modern example, if I have to say, credit cards. Like if we did not understand the functioning of a credit card, right? Like how to pay the bills, where is the money coming from? It is plastic money or is it black magic, right? But right now, if you just boil down to current 2025, we just tap our card without even looking at what we are trying to do.
Yeah, even the
So
UPI thing that we are using here in India.
exactly. UPI was also a very feared invention at the very beginning. So all in all, every major invention or innovation starts with fear, then confusion, and then eventually we adopt it. Right? We can't imagine our life without it now. All of the things that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
So AI is kind of going through the same cycle, right? It's not about building what like a robot that feels or thinks like us, which people commonly perceive it as to be. It's more about computers and giving them the ability to process the information and make decisions based on it, right? Now if I have to give a very simple analogy, because this was quite technical, so let's say when we are let's say of very young and we don't have the power to distinguish between different fruits, right? So let's say once our mom or dad take us to a market, they
Mm-hmm.
show us that this is an apple. If someone is eating a fruit on a bus, our parent will show us that okay, that person is eating an apple. If we are, let's say, strolling by a park, we see a fruit hanging from a tree, our parent is telling us that, okay, this is an apple. Next time, if someone brings an apple for us or a fruit for us, we can easily determine whether it is an apple or any other fruit, right? So, this is exactly what AI is doing. Instead of from fruits, it is learning from the data. It has thousands of examples or to determine information from, and it will, what it will do, it will find patterns like the shape of it and the color of it, and based on those patterns, it will make the decisions for you, right? Like if you're watching Netflix or a YouTube video, and based on all your past search history or watch history, it will give you a correct alternative to watch, I mean what to watch next, right? Like your phone's autocorrect even suggesting you the correct spelling, right? That is quietly AI working in the background without us knowing,
Yeah,
right?
and even nowadays, whenever we just talk about some things, and you might remember back in few days, we were just sitting in a restaurant talking over a few things, and suddenly we opened our phone and we were just seeing some advertisement actually targeting the same thing that we were talking about.
Exactly, yeah. So basically, there is a norm that AI knows everything about me, your phone is listening to you. Except that people are fearing the fact that AI is going to take over. So let's not, you know, go into that notion, because except for the fact that I have already bought the things that AI is already recommending me. So if that is intelligence, then I guess we are safe for now.
Yeah, that is a good way of putting it down there, and I like your example. Like, I can relate it to like the parent who is showing fruits to their child. Parent is like a data scientist, fruit is like data, and then child is like a model learning from that data. Like, to
Correct.
put it down there in a simple way, if we do a side by side analysis of teacher versus a student, or a parent child, or a data scientist model side by side, I think we can draw parallels out there. Just like how teacher helps students to learn few things, to solve problem, they help students to solve problem. Likewise, data scientist helps the model to solve problem as well, if you take a parallel look at it. Even, like, teacher provides a suitable learning material to the student. Likewise, data scientist would provide data to the model, if we do a
Correct.
parallel conclusion out there. Even student will study, grasp that material, absorb it, model will train itself on that data. So it's kind of the same thing happening out there. And then
Exactly.
if we look at the goal of the student, the goal of student is to pass the exam by grasping that data. So it depends on the quality of learning material that he has been given, the way of the teacher has taught that particular student, the result depends on that. Parallelly, model will eventually be trained to solve new problems which is having a similar pattern out there.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, so eventually that's the same thing. If you provide bad data, it is not going to give you good results by any chance.
Of course not. Yep. And that goes to say that even if uh, you are giving a test based on what you have learned till now, your accuracy and your score of the, let's say, the model in this case, is similar to how you get scored, right? If you scored 98%, 95%, that means your way of understanding the patterns and what you are trying to solve, that is quite, you have grasped it. Basically, you have grasped the knowledge. So basically, that goes to say, for the machine learning model as well that you described, based on all the data that it has given, if it has all the scenarios into consideration, it is going to give you an accurate result. But yes, again, it is still mimicking the behavior that a human was. So again, it goes to show that the machine learning is nothing but a machine that is learning, same way a student is learning or we are learning. And the
Absolutely.
same way, the way that I made my point earlier regarding artificial intelligence, it is just intelligence made by man. So that's how it is, if we simply try to put it.
Yeah, and I even like your example when you put in just the vaccine example out there. I guess I was reading few articles out there on this stuff, and I might be less educated on this, but this is what I have heard and learned out of it. And people had many questions how the vaccines came out so soon. So that's where maybe the machine learning model was kept in place. Statistics was done to find out. Right now we can see Google also doing some fantastic job over the healthcare industry to uh, like predicting like finding out a new drug out of statistical models and learning over it.
Correct, correct. Definitely.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it.
Okay, so let's talk about it. Like, why so hype around that one word AI? Why everybody is talking about it? What's the real hype? Is it just marketing or is it real?
Well, it is just hype, I would say, like most of it. So it may sound futuristic and mysterious, and maybe even a little scary, right? It's some kind of a term that makes you think like, okay, are robots taking over the world, or machines suddenly becoming self-aware? But it is, yeah, I mean, if you have to tell you a proper naked truth, it is just math, and there is no magic involved, right? It's not a thinking brain or a digital soul. It is just a collection of algorithms, basically a step-by-step instructions or a guide that has been given to a computer, which is just running on a very powerful machine that is analyzing huge amounts of data, and it is spotting the patterns. It is spotting the patterns just like humans, but it is spotting them faster than a human can. Right? So that is
Mm-hmm.
where AI comes into the picture. In fact, most of the people, most of what we call AI today isn't really just intelligence, it is just simple pattern recognition. If I have to give you a very basic example, so your voice assistant, like, okay, Siri, Alexa, like they use AI to understand what kind of accent you have, what kind of wordings you are using, how you are framing your sentence, and based on that, they are responding to you, right, very meaningfully. But even
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work, right? Sometimes I'm asking Siri a basic yes or no question, and it is giving me a big list of, okay, here is what I found on the web. So it is basically like you are talking to a voice assistant that is like dating someone who is emotionally unavailable, and you are just repeating yourself and they just don't get you, right? So another pattern recognition example would be like when your phone groups all of your pets photos into an album and says, okay, these are all your dog's photos, right? That is just AI recognizing patterns. There is no rocket science behind it. Okay, so it is something that learns and adapts over time. Basically, even in when YouTube starts suggesting you better videos, the more you watch, right? If it doesn't have has that data of what you have watched, it cannot recommend you the proper videos for you to watch, right? Again, this is something called as learning over time, pattern recognition, decision making. Another decision making app for you is like, I would say, Google Maps, right? It will show you the path, and I must say, although it has got most advanced, I would still not rely on it, because it will still not tell me a basic simple thing whether I have to take the bridge or not, right? This is something we are still
Sometimes
far
it does.
way too advanced in.
Sometimes it does
And
also
then,
shows the wrong direction, and we end up going on a road which is not a road.
yeah, it is just a hike, or maybe a destination to somewhere that we need or not.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
like
and
when you give me such examples of various things, even you gave an example of a chatbot where like a dating chatbot where people are trying to talk with an AI and they feel like it's a real person. I guess that draws down me to the line to 1950s. Of course, we'll come to evolution in the a bit later, but that's what the experiment was all about: fooling a person to buy a machine and pretend like a human. And if human can't recognize it's a machine, then the machine wins out there. So
of
that's
course,
that's what it's all about. That's where it started.
yeah, and it is basically learning from you, right? It is just the way that students learn before exams, right? The goal is कि भाई मेरे को आज 35 निकालना है, और I am not into that mindset कि भाई ये ऐसा क्यों है. I will not try to reason with why the concept is like that. I will just memorize the pattern. I will just mug up the answer, and after that, I will just try to write the answer how I remembered it. Except, unlike us, AI doesn't forget everything the next morning, but I will, surely.
That's true.
So
That's
that
true.
is how, yeah. So that is how it would work. Like a system that can look at thousands of pictures of cats and dogs. It can tell you then which is which. It is just robot. It is not a robot that has feelings. It has just some statistics with good marketing, right? Any image recognition software that you have almost does the same thing, and that's okay, because that is where the real power of AI lies, right? In doing repetitive, data heavy workloads that will take us too long, to resolve, right? So the next time that you see a product labeled as AI powered, you have to ask yourself, it is really learning? Is it reasoning? Or is it making decisions? Or is it just a fancy set of rules built by a human developer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like whatever right now exists, if we have to classify it, and let's classify it in, what actually
Of course.
a real word
Yeah.
would classify it. So, there are comparatively three kind of intelligence that are theoretically, and right now we in the phase one. So, if I have to classify it, the first one would be the narrow intelligence, second
Hmm.
one would be general intelligence, and third one would be
Yeah.
the super intelligence. So right now we are in just the narrow intelligence phase, and whatever hype is being created out there, it's a future phase. It's not yet. We are not yet there. We are in the
Yeah.
narrow intelligence phase. Even the face recognition that we use on our phones, the ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever Claude tools are available for us, are all built on large language models, and it's just a machine learning model which is trained on a large set of data set, and it is just predicting things for you, and that's what it is all about. It is not going to think or reason like a human. It is not going to have an consciousness or awareness out there, and like that I feel that's too far. Of course there are people like Sam Altman, who is in CEO of OpenAI. He said in an interview that we are nearby to achieve something like general intelligence, like uh, it will have a human like of reasoning, where it can do things. Of course there are specified rules out there as well that would be created for for doing some specific task. And if I have to draw a parallel out there, and if we move from narrow intelligence to general intelligence, the parallel out there would be, if you have watched Star Wars. Have you watched Star Wars?
Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course.
So
Yeah.
the droids out there created for the wars are the examples of it. Of course, they are classified into different classes, and they have different tasks to do, and they only will do that task. If some bot or droid created for an home assisting work, it will not go on war. But if it is created for military operations, or doing something, some mathematical predictions to predict where we are going to get hit next, I guess something like that will be a general intelligence which can kind of replace human, but it will not have consciousness. It will still lack consciousness. It still can't do multiple things at same time. It is going to do one thing at a time.
Basically, it will do what it is supposed to do, apart from the fact that it is something that has not been taught to it, right? If a
Yeah.
military robot suddenly, if you tell him, okay, go and do this menial chores of fetching water or something, it won't do that because that data has not been fed to it.
Absolutely. And even I have to give you an example like what Tesla is also doing with their Optimus Gen 2. I guess they are targeting the same thing. They are trying to build general intelligence and trying to give, of course, they are mixing artificial intelligence and robotics together. Of course, that is what is going to revolutionize things a bit more. And that would be a real hype, that would be a real hype when we have robotics and every other matter coming together to create something great out of it. So
That
mathematical
will be a
models.
hype as well as a cause of concern at
Yeah,
that stage.
absolutely. Cause of concerns is also there in the narrow intelligence as well. So if you have seen the recent news out there, cyber criminals are trying to use those models to, the defending
They
service
want
can't predict the
mimic
kind
that
of
they are a
attack that is
professional
going
banker
trying to
or
do.
something to, scam you. Yeah, of course.
So that is a something that is concerning, but things need to be regulated there. Of course, things need to be regulated more when we come to general intelligence, because something not regulated, just like an example of a droid which is created to kill a person, like a military operation, if not regulated, somebody can just misuse it, and
Yeah.
that robot is just created to, or droid is just created to kill a person. It is going to kill a person for sure.
Yeah. As simple. Yeah.
Yeah. And if we talk about super intelligence, I guess we are way too far from super intelligence because we are yet to achieve general intelligence. I guess the big companies, big giants like Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, I guess all are behind and pursuit of achieving general intelligence. That's what the next goal is all about. And
Yeah, that can only be seen in the science fiction movies.
absolutely.
I don't think we are about to reach that level yet. But yeah, I think you have classified it very nicely. what would be narrow intelligence, what is general intelligence, and super intelligence is something that we are yet to see.
Yeah, it is the most advanced theoretical form that you will ever see. And if I have to draw a parallel line and give you an example out there, if you have watched Marvel's Avengers Age of Ultron and Vision, that would kind of be an example. It's funny, it feels funny when I'm giving this example, but
Yeah,
that is what I can imagine at least. If I have to see a visual effect of it, what it will look like, I guess the
yeah,
Ultron and Vision. Of course, if you see, both are same, but both are thinking in a different way. So
yeah.
how do you look at that? How do you look at that?
Well, if you see, again, based on the data and their upbringing, I would say their personalities were quite different. So I would say Vision is someone who strive to be more human than humans ever could. That they are seeing humanity through a very different lens, right? Vision is like someone who is very, very hopeless, romantic kind of person who still believes, okay, there is some goodness in the world out there, and yeah, so I think it sought that connection, right? Vision is seeking that connection, and it is saying that okay, maybe everything is not lost. Humanity can still improve upon. On the contrast, Ultron was like, okay, humanity, okay, I'm having a look at this, and then I would say, okay, uh, what about humanity? Select all, control all, delete. That is the only logical solution that Ultron came up with, right? Because
Interesting.
basically it thought that only logical upgrade, after seeing that humanity has stooped down to such a lower level, maybe I would say Ultron just visited Instagram's comment section once and saw how dark the uh, people's thoughts are, how people are being provoked and the level of shaming that we are doing online. I think Ultron was logically thinking, okay, no, humanity would be a better solution altogether. So that is how everything works in contrast with each other based on how, if AI is trying to think, then of course there will be good and evil as well.
Yeah, and when you give an example of a chatbot pretending as a date chatbot, so Vision is a prime example of how it will actually look like if it's an AI person in place, and Wanda
Yeah,
getting in love with Vision, and then after Vision dies, she just creates an ruckus around the next movie. I just forgot the movie name. What it was?
that's just typical romantic story, I would say. That Vision has again trying to be human and then, okay, forget about the world, I will just live my life as a human, which is ironic.
Human is going
The
to
humans
get a
are trying to
competition out
build
there.
the AI, and AI is trying to be more like humans. So that sums it up.
Human also got in competition out there. You know, people are
Of
already
course.
struggling finding love, and then AI is competing with us. Just imagine that.
Yeah, just for emotional support. That's terrible.
Absolutely. So, like, this was an interesting analogy. Even I would say I would never love to see the ASI coming in picture in actual world, because at least droid were some helpful than this Vision
Mhm.
and Ultron thing. They are trying to control things by themselves, but at least droids are helpful and they're obeying the commands of the humans. And at least that
Yeah.
can be regulated. I'm just concerned about how this is regulated.
Yeah, and basically a lot of things that we call AI today are just advanced automation, right? Machine learning models. Like there is a huge difference between a computer that learns and the one that just follows your instructions, right? So that's why we want to break down the real story of how AI has evolved. I mean, that is something that we need to discuss. And yeah, although it has been a slow, fascinating journey from simple rule based system to kind of generative tools that we see today. So it is very important to clear the misconception that it is just math logic with data. So working together, we're trying to simulate human like problem solving. That's it.
Yeah.
There is no hype.
Yeah, if we just bring it down to how AI currently learns and memorizes things, if you can just give a short brief of it.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, it will look at thousands of pictures of cats and dogs and tell you which is which, right? That's not a robot with feeling. That is just statistics with good marketing. And that's okay because that's where the real power of AI lies, right? In doing repetitive and data heavy work better and faster. Just they're doing it faster than us, than that we are supposed to, right? So it is important to separate this buzz from the basics. So the next time when you see a product labeled as AI powered, it is really important to ask yourself this, whether it is learning, is it reasoning, or is it making decisions? Or is it just following a fancy set of rules built by a human developer?
Absolutely. And even to add some points to that, people using chat GPTs and Gemini, Claude, or any other chatbot in sense to, if you have seen it in the earlier stage, it was hallucinating, it was inconsistent about what is it is answering about. And
Yep.
that's why they make it public, to train itself. So
Yep.
people are just doing kind of providing their information, providing their data, providing things to it, and it is learning from it. That's how it is
Yeah,
getting
exactly.
better day
Direct
by day.
logic and data. Like I said, it is just a combination of that. And the way that they made it public, and you said it very correctly, we ourselves are providing the data for the model to get better. And it will get better eventually.
Yeah. And the biggest contributors to the AI development is human itself, because once humans got internet, they got phones in their hands, social media, and we are all over, and we are just sending things out in public, sharing things what we are doing, photos, images, everything is out there in public. And then we
Yeah.
imagine how AI is giving us things about us so accurate, because we have already shared
Yep.
it with the public. That's what they are using to train it. you
Yep.
know just to add few more things before you bring in your point there, AI, there are few regulations that companies are trying to do. The companies like OpenAI got some lawsuits out there over the world, where few of those companies just said you can't use our data, just can't scrape it. So they changed their website policies. Few companies just bar that data to be used, and then OpenAI launched something called, you know paid. They are just buying data out to train itself, so they are paying companies, I'll use your data, just we'll
Yeah.
pay you this much to train it. Even
Mhm.
there are, talks about they will also ask people to share their private data, and they will pay users as well. This is what I'm hearing. It's not yet available, but probably it seems it would go there, because it feels like data availability will be an issue, because then if there is no more data to be getting trained, if a regulations goes hit deep dive, the chatbots are going to die, because there will be a barge there that there is no more data to be trained, and then they will have to buy data from people to get trained.
Of course. And that's what today's scenario looks like.
Yeah.
And they are getting in such a big volume of data on in seconds, in terabytes and GBs. The data, the velocity with which the data is being generated, it's going to be a little bit tough to handle.
Yeah, and maybe someday we can talk about, this can be another podcast in itself, like what kind of CO2 or footprint this AI thing is putting out there. Like how much electricity does it burn really? What is the CO2 footprint that has been done by this AI hype out there in the world? I think this can be an interesting topic to talk about maybe someday later, but I feel like we can
Yes,
discuss this later on.
this needs to be touched upon. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's deep dive into how AI evolved, and let's get back into history now.
Yeah, sure. So, if you really look at it, Akash, I think this concept actually goes back to 1950s, which many people would find very hard to believe. There were computers that were built with the sole purpose to think. Not sure if you heard about Alan Turing,
Yeah, yeah.
one of the greatest minds who invented the first computer, right? And the Britishers were able to support the Allied forces that helped them win the World War II. So basically, that was all around creating or defeating an encryption device that was made by the Germans. So basically, there was this machine in which you put an input. Let's say I'm pressing B, it will input I today. Again, if I input B tomorrow, it will input, let's say, G, right? So basically, every time or every day after 24 hours, the machine setting is going to change. And now the entire goal of the cryptographers or encryption specialists out there was to crack this code within a day, because the setting is again going to change tomorrow, right? So by the time Each and every person is trying to find the pattern, recognize which alphabets is linking to particular another alphabet, because you are typing a simple message, let's say, hello, the weather is cloudy today and it is sunny, expecting a light shower by afternoon. But when you export this message out of that Enigma machine, which the Germans used to call it, it will be plain simple gibberish, right? So basically, the goal was to find out the patterns between the words and which alphabet relates to which alphabet, and then try to decode the message. But by the time this used to happen, as I said, the setting used to change after 24 hours, and again everything was supposed to be started from scratch, right? So what Alan Turing proposed, instead of me spending a lot of time in finding the pattern, why not I build a machine that will do that for me? It was just a knob and a set of settings, and it was fed the data that it is expected to receive, and it will give you the setting of that Enigma machine which you need to have on your side. And once you plug that in, and when you type the encrypted message, it will give you a decrypted message. It was as simple as that. So, what was the whole and soul of this Enigma, the decoding machine, which Christopher was its name, which Alan Turing proposed it? So, the goal was to find the patterns, recognize it, and solve a specific set of problem for me, right? And that was also considered to be intelligence, because it is doing my job faster for me. Where I am failing, that particular machine is trying to do that within minutes. At that time, something that is going to take me hours, it is being done in minutes, is a very big thing to achieve, right?
Yeah.
And back then computers were very very massive, and slow. So AI in those days was quite symbolic, right? Basically rule based logic, which again is just like a computer. In those old days, people would manually program rules, like if X happens then do Y, right? Think of the early chess programs, like basic problem solvers, impressive for their time, but still limited by the rules humans gave them. It after a point, they will lack creativity and they will start defeating you in the same old fashion. Once you recognize how the computer is playing, then it is easy for you to decode, right?
Yeah.
Even when we played the game of cricket on Cricket 2007 or something, we knew that where to put the ball and where to ball the ball to the computer, so that every time it tries to shoot a shot or bat, it is going to hit the stumps, right? This is something that each and everyone would relate to, right? Then came the age of 1980s, when we saw the rise of expert
Yeah,
systems
before you go
and
to
computers.
before you go to
Yep.
1980s, I guess the story was interesting that you told about,
Yep.
and I guess there is a movie on it. Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, the movie, the Brexit, sorry, not Brexit, the Imitation Game
Yeah,
was the
the
name of the
imitation
movie.
game.
And I would recommend all of the users to watch it, and you will exactly get the idea of what we are entirely trying to entail you from all of this. And this innovation didn't just
Sorry to
stop
cut
there
you off. Sorry to
because,
cut you off. Sorry to cut you off.
yeah, yeah, no worries.
It felt like I'm back to corporate because I heard, uh, you know, we are going to tell viewers to see this, but we are talking about users, and we are back to our corporate world, the coding world.
Oh man, I really said users. Oh my god. Silly. That is why I was telling you that I need a break. I need a reboot. Otherwise, I will
Absolutely.
start behaving like an AI model, AI prepared model in some days. Yeah. So I would like our viewers to definitely watch that movie, because, as I said, the innovation didn't stop there. They, even after cracking the code, just so that the Germans should not get suspicious, they practically use statistics and maths to predict where is the best point of attack or counter attack to the Germans, so that the Germans should not get suspicious that we have cracked the enigma. If they would have got suspicious and we would have been, made it obvious that, okay, the attacks are happening out of nowhere, then of course we would not have been able to win that World War with the help of Allied forces.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So again, coming back to my point, this is how the systems evolved. Expert, systems came into place. Then computers that stored knowledge acted upon that knowledge, and we basically built a set of rules. If then logics. It started with a basic if then logic. If this, then do that. Else, don't do that. And it is just a complete nest of all this if else logic. Right. Banks are still using them for credit scoring. The doctors are still using them to assist in diagnosis, which are quite basic. But again, if you see, these systems are still learning on their own, right? The real transformation came in 2010, machine learning, which we already tapped upon. Instead of giving computer the rules, I am giving it data and lots of data. The system can then find its own patterns and define its own rules, how we want to present itself. And then that's how we got image recognition, recommendation systems, voice assistants. How did it got trained? It got trained upon data, right? It you have to feed something to this machine so that it can give you back something. It is all powered by learning from the data. And now we are in the age of generative data, which we touched upon in the ANI section, where AI is not just recognizing or predicting, it is creating, right? Tools like ChatGPT, DALI, Midjourney can write stories, like generate art, and even compose music for that matter, even build code, which all of us mostly rely on blindly, despite of checking whether it is syntactically correct or not, or efficient or not. All by learning, and all of this was by learning from the massive data sets and finding the creative combinations within them, right?
Yeah.
So that's some set like how the AI will learn. Yeah, I mean, in my terms, at least.
Yeah, that was really interesting, and I would definitely like to highlight few points. Like we came across the history. We now know how it started. It started from Alan Turing asking a question: Can machines think? And then the all the imitation game movie and people should watch it. It's a great movie. I have watched it myself. It's a great movie for somebody who loves statistics. That's a great movie to watch. They should
Definitely.
watch it. But there are few points that I would like to highlight in the historical terms. I guess in 2006, the Jeffrey Hinton who introduced deep learning to the world, I guess that
Yeah.
is the changing point where something similar to brain like structure like a human was introduced in terms of mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming down deep to the 2012, well, deep neural network were introduced. And then if we come more down below, the biggest game changer was Google's brain, which was the transformer self-attention mechanism. I guess
Yeah.
that is the foundation of all the LLMs, and that's where everything changed, and that's where all the hype started.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So, moving ahead, I guess, let's clear up a biggest confusion. And I guess this is also my question, and there would be many people who would ask these questions. But the biggest confusion is AI versus automation. you know
Right.
this is
Yeah.
I have been around working with many companies, and that, like, we also work together. That was my great opportunity to work with you, and thanks for that. Thanks for mentoring me on many of the things, and thanks for giving me all the knowledge out there. But
Yeah.
after post that, I have worked with many companies, and after this AI hype came in, I saw many companies rebranding themselves like this is AI powered thing. But kind of
Yeah.
I saw, there is a gray line between automation and AI, and I guess I want to highlight that, and I would bring that to you to explain this to the audience.
Yeah.
But they were rebranding themselves as an AI powered tool, but they were just selling the blatant automation that was already there. It's the same thing, but just rebranded it to an AI thing. What's your take on
And
it?
I think you summed it up pretty well. But in Marathi, we have a saying that "daru juni bottle navin." So it goes around to boils down to the same fact, like a fancy packaging, but the same old product. Like before we even, I mean, this is just a very concerning thing that people are still equating automation to AI, right? Automation, if I have to say, is basically your very obedient servant, no questions asked assistant. Okay, it is just your simple assistant. You tell it what to do, and it does exactly the same thing every single time, right? Unlike Dhamal movie, right, wherein you see, okay, वो लाल बटन दिख रहा है, दबा दिया, जबकि नहीं दबाना था. AI would do that, but automation won't. Automation would, uh, by the time he lands that plane in Dhamal, he would listen to the traffic controller and safely try to land that plane if everything goes fine. So this is how you differentiate between these things, right? Automation is like a navigation system that follows a static rule based routing table, It has some predefined instructions, fixed routes, right? Fixed waypoints, and executes them exactly as configured. Okay. So if the environment changes, now assume that your Google Maps was not very powerful as it is today. Okay. We have to go from destination A to B. It is just going to show you multiple routes, regardless of the fact that what is the weather like, what is the time of the day, is it a weekday or a weekend, is it high time of the day, or was there any accident, roadblock recently, you know, based on the data from previous days, how the traffic looks like and everything. It is not doing that for you, right? So the system is basically not adapting because its logic is quite deterministic and non-learning. Okay, it is reliable, it is consistent and predictable, but it is not aware of the context. Right? So that is automation. AI, on the other hand, I would say, behaves like a navigation system powered by a real-time machine learning model. Okay, so it will ingest the traffic's live data. It will try to deduce from the historical patterns at that particular time of the day. There is lots of traffic on your particular route. It will suggest you an alternative, and even try to understand user behavior, what particular routes people are usually taking at this point of time to avoid the traffic, and taking off all of this information, getting to know all of the anomalies and these new patterns, and it recalculates an optimal route for you dynamically. Okay, dynamically being the keyword, using all these predictive models. So its logic is probabilistic, adaptive, and self-improving at point, right? So automation is following rules, and AI is basically rewriting them when the situation changes. You can say automation repeats the tasks, but AI is improving at them.
Okay. So so this is the real question. So is AI just a smarter form of automation? Are they both different species, or they are the same species in the tech food chain? Or like I just want to know, where does the line get blur? What's the gray line between
Mhm.
both? When machine
Yeah.
stops when a machine stops just doing what it's told and starts thinking about it. Like is that what would you describe it as an AI? And if you set a rules, then that's an automation. So where the line gets blur?
Well, again, I can explain this with a very basic example, like your emails in Outlook, for example. Okay, automation is basic. Let's say you have set up an email, an automation. You have picked up, let's say, if the subject line of the email says invoice, move it to finance folder. Okay, you have applied a basic rule there. So again, as I said, it is simple, deterministic, and blindly obedient. So even if one of your friend is trying to prank you, or colleague is trying to prank you with invoice in the subject line, but in reality it is just some meme or some rubbish or garbage.
Mm-hmm.
What will automation do? It will still file it away in the finance folder. It is like a loyal servant, but it is clueless in turn, right? So AI, on the other hand, it will try to understand the pattern. It will create some spam or priority folders. It will not just look at the keywords like in term of automation, right? It will analyze that pattern. It will see the sender behavior. It will see past interactions with that sender, message tone, timing, and thousands of such signals. Okay, so it learns from the emails, right? So AI in this case has basically adapted, it predicts, and it has corrected itself, right? So it is not following the rules. It is, I would say, forming judgment, right? So the line blurs, to answer your question, where it is stopping purely being rule based and start using the data and feedback to make the better decisions over time. So that is where this line blurs. That's the key. Like automation follows instructions and AI learns from experience. It is
Okay.
like, if I have to summarize, you can say that automation follows the script you wrote, and AI writes its own script based on what it learns from you, right? Or maybe automation triggers an event and AI triggers a decision.
Okay, so and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong about this, but if I've
Mhm.
understood this thing correct, so automation would be somebody. If we take a chef example, it would be somebody who will be memorizing the recipes and just doing what it has been told according to the recipe book. But AI would be something who will memorize the recipe, but it will experiment, it will burn few dishes, and then it will create something new out of it, right?
Yeah.
Am I right to say this?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because ultimately AI. Being a chef, okay, it is someone, let's say, who is beginning to cook. The same behavior will be modeled by your AI model, right? Because it will reflect the same behavior. It will try to learn. It will try to adapt, and that's how it will improve from the mistakes
Yeah.
and the experience.
So automation is something that will get better if we are going to improve it, and AI
Exactly.
is something that is going to get better by itself.
Yeah, that's completely spot on. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Uh, and this conversation is amazing. That's why I like this kind of conversations doing, I have few more things that I would like to discuss, but then it feels like it can be a whole topic in itself. So I
Yeah.
would like to speak about the AI ethics. I would like to speak about what can be the future of AI, how it can impact workplaces. There are few
Mhm.
points that where I want to go deep into the psychology and philosophy of AI as well, but I
Yeah.
guess it would become too long and then we'll cut it short out there for this episode. But definitely, just for the audience's benefit, there I will be scheduling some time with Rohit ahead, to get more details and get deep dive. We'll be peeling the onion out there. We'll peel it layer by
Yeah.
layer and get deep dive into the AI in more depth. But before we close off, I just want to get your some closing thought. So, after we had this long talk about AI, we were discussing how it works with AI, how the pattern recognition happens, how the Ultron was threatening the control delete out there. So, where does where do we actually draw the line?
Okay. So honestly, Akash, it comes down to very something very simple. Like AI is supposed to make us better and not replace us. That makes us human. Okay. So let me tell you a very short story. So basically, there was this object in a museum, and the host was trying to, the guide was trying to showcase it to them that this is the most rarest artifact. There are only 10 of such artifacts in the world. Okay, and it is trying to present it by hyping it again, that this is the most prized possession, this was held by so and so person and whatnot. So what he did is he just took it out of the glass locking box and just handed it over to a random person and just asked him, okay, would you like to hold this? At first the person was quite skeptical, okay, whether or not should I try to grab this. So he did. Eventually, the way he tried to hold it, he dropped it and it broke. And that's when he went into that guilt and shame. Okay, oh, I mean, exactly, like if you drop a piece of artifact that is priceless, you would feel guilty, you would feel ashamed,
Yeah.
right? So that's what happened. It asked him, okay, so how much would I have to pay? Because he started all panicking. I don't know what to do now in this case, right? So the person tried to ask, okay, is this really insured or do I need to really pay? Then the host or the guide of the museum said, how can this be insured? Because it is something that is very priceless, right? There are only just 10 of these artifacts in the world, and all of them are locked away, eventually exposing the fact that the one that you hold was a fake, right? So, the point that I'm trying to make here is that the perception of reality is far more real than the reality itself, if we really try to look at that. There was this guilt involved. He tried to make that person, feel shame and feel guilt for dropping that, where in fact that object in reality had no value, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only value that it had, what the person's mind who was holding it projected onto it.
Yeah.
That was the only value in it according to his perception, right? And that's what has been happening to us. Like happening to us, I can say all along. You are convinced by the world that you are not good enough. You need to learn this skill. You without learning a particular tool or a concept, you are not good enough. The perception is like, and here's something that no one will tell you. Like AI isn't what people have made you believe it. If I have to draw parallel from this story, I'll repeat myself. It is like AI isn't what people have made you to believe it is. A lot of the fear and urgency and the hype around AI hasn't come from the technology itself. You have to understand this. It is coming from the marketing that these people are doing. Marketers have turned this AI into a mystical, complicated, and almost magical thing because in market the complexity sells and
Yeah.
fear makes you prone to it. And the people who build AI tools want you to feel like you are falling behind, right? They will create this urgency. They will say, oh, you need to learn this, otherwise you will get left behind. So this is the constant pressure that you will win. So half of it is psychology and not technology. And if I have come to hit the reality part, at its core, again, AI is just a tool, a
Absolutely.
very powerful tool, but after all, a tool, right? Use AI to automate the boring bits, is what I would say, to speed up your work or to help you learn faster, but not to switch off your own thinking. That is not the goal here. We have to try to understand this. So, like a very basic example, we both have worked in service based companies, right? So, there is a basic example like US and UK outsource the labor intensive and repetitive tasks,
Yeah.
right, to India, so that they can do the informed decision making, judgment, and the leadership tasks, right? That all is happening onshore, nothing is happening offshore, right?
Exactly.
Because those things require human intelligence, not artificial intelligence, right? Similarly, what I'm trying to say is the moment we outsource our judgment, our curiosity, our decision making to AI, that's when we go from using AI as a tool to depending on like a crutch या फिर अंधे की लाठी. As simple as that. So the key takeaway, so the key takeaway would be, I would say, use AI. I mean, use AI, no doubt, but to boost your intelligence, not bypass it. Okay, this is very critical. We just do not have to all the time. Okay, I'm facing a problem. I will go to ChatGPT. I will take the code and I will just copy paste it. You have to try to understand what it is doing. Is it has it really given us the right answer? Of course, we'll be touching upon that in the further videos, but let it assist you, is what I'm trying to say, not define you. And if it ever feels like the machine is making choices for you, that's your signal to step back. Because the future isn't AI versus humans, but it's humans who know how to use AI versus humans who don't. That's all it is.
Yeah, and absolutely, this is what I would like to, also tell people that I'm working around right now. Because you rightly said, there is a constant fear that we are lacking behind, and they always come to me, okay, we are doing this thing, हम ये कर रहे हैं, but I think we are lacking behind because this is something AI is already doing. the
Yeah.
the example that you gave, like the code thing, definitely AI can give you the code, but it is not always right. You should know the code, and then you can copy paste it and revise it to your own purpose. It is not going to give you the 100% code correct that you can just copy and use it right away.
Yes. And as intelligence can be wrong, we can be wrong, then why cannot AI can also be wrong? So how are you just, who is the authority on right and wrong here? Right?
Just
We have not defined it.
I,
There is
I
no
want
single
to
source of truth.
I want to keep few things for the upcoming episodes, but I'll just give a his. Like they are saying AI is super smart than people, but eventually AI is just predicting things, and it is just giving things out, predicting the next thing, what's the next, what's next. Imagine AI getting trained by the data generated by AI itself, how biased and how wrong it can get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's where we draw the line. We should not rely on AI too much.
True, true. Very true.
Yeah. I guess that's it for this episode, and thanks for joining. I would say this is what we will
Anytime.
just cut it off, and we'll keep few things for the other upcoming episodes. But thanks for joining us today. Thanks for your time, and we are really grateful for having you here. And we would really love to host you in person as well. Like someday we'll plan an in-person episode as well, but like we'll keep things moving, and I promise that audience will get new few more things, interesting things, and many more interesting conversation. And even I would like to talk about other than AI. I know you are interested in literature and poetry as well, and even you are into history as well. So maybe someday later we can talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like, I mean, I have seen you grow since beginning. So to the point to tell it from where you began and where you are, I would say you are following the right path. Just keep believing in what you are doing. So I think you will go far away.
Absolutely, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, and if this made you think, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And do drop some comments with your suggestions and feedbacks. For more such deep dives, see you in the next one.